Hi, Nick here. So this sprint has been pretty busy. First, recruiting. We are. I'm looking for a senior Ruby on Rails engineer. So I've been weeding resume out, looking through resumes and um, figuring out who I want to talk to, who I don't want to talk to, and so I talked about 30 people out of 300, and out of 30 people, I believe about five are probably going to make the cut to go to the next stage. That would be a coding challenge, and we're in, basically the technical, really a really technical interview. So then the next thing is we're finishing up on hiring Cameron Khan, who's a front-end engineer out of Pakistan. I believe he's very, very talented. He's very nice. He's going to get along with the team. And so stay tuned because next sprint we will have a new member. What else happened? Bulk SMS. So at the end of last week, we decided to send bulk SMSs in order to show up our weekly access users, and I believe we knocked it out of the park. No, well, maybe not entirely, but we went about, I believe, 10 to 11 users above what we were supposed to do, so it was great. But yes, so we actually, it was the first time where we used Jay and Nolan build the list where we of people that we needed to contact, and so we actually send the SMS to all of those in bulk. Next is Chris from the Zig decided to lend us a resource for 2 months. So I'm onboarding this resource right now, and so we will have yet another member for about 2 months. And so this resource is going to be working on special projects such as um, fully integrating Google Analytics onto our website, so we really know how our users are actually behaving and using the site, and whether or not the new feature that we're building are actually getting used extensively. So that's it's something that is missing right now, and it's something that I believe, Nolan believes, and everybody else I talk to really believe that this is really probably one of the most important things we could do, which is understand our users and see how they actually use our application. So um, on top of that, this new resource from the Zig will be working also on GitLab and helping me set up um, uh, GitLab CI integration with multiple servers and deployments. Because right now we don't deploy anywhere. We just basically have a build and then we deploy manually to Heroku. I would like this to be automated, and it's going to help with that. Let's see what's next. Oh, um, review of the engineering dashboard. So hold on a second. So I've built this engineering dashboard um, with Data Studio, and it's reading data right now from a Google Sheet, but I hope that I can find APIs to get data from GitLab, Asana, and Rollbar, so that I can actually have a full real-time view of what's going on at any point in time. So this dashboard is fairly dynamic. Right now, there is only basically 3 weeks back because I only started getting statistics for code coverage 3 weeks back, and I wanted to actually see my code coverage progress. And so right now, this is the Asana stories. I went into Asana and counted the stories. Again, this will be automated going forward. Um, so basically this week, or for the past 2.5 days, we actually um, completed 7 stories, which is actually very significant. The previous week we um, we completed 10 stories. So basically for this sprint, it's more or less going to be between 17 or 18 stories, because I believe there's still 1 or 2 in the pipeline. And anyway, so and then the week after, the previous to that was we completed 16 stories. So yes, there seems to be a little bit of drop, but the stories that were actually more complex this sprint, and so that's why our velocity are actually not as impressive as a previous sprint. So in terms of code coverage, something very, very interesting. So the first bar here is really the code coverage for the full, basically the blended rate between the React coverage and the Rails coverage. And basically 3 weeks ago, when we first started actually gathering that data, we had a blended rate of 59%. And now we actually have the amazing blended rate of 51.74%. And you're going to say, hey, what's going on? How come it's lower? Well, um, really where it's lower is really on the React side. And it went from 30% to 15%. And that's not because we are not writing tests. In fact, we have written more tests. It is just that I have discovered that there was some, during the code reviews, um, there was files, React files that were not being included in the code coverage. And so the 30% code coverage that we had before on React was actually not the right number. It was closer to actually 14% for React. And in which case, basically, we have actually increased the code coverage by about 0.75%. So again, those numbers don't look good, but it's actually a baseline, and over time, because this is something we're measuring, it will improve over time. Then the next thing is rollbar issues. Rollbar issues is basically issues that we get in production. So basically this week so far, we have 46 rollbar issues. We are looking at those rollbar issues and trying to actually solve them. Those are mostly JavaScript errors, so sometimes we can do something about it. Sometimes we cannot do anything about it. Let's say that there is a bad cell signal connection. They may actually show up as a rollbar JavaScript exception, and so sometimes we can't make um, uh, we cannot fix really that, but we can definitely fix how we handle it, and so that it actually doesn't show up as an exception. The next thing is that the reason why I'm showing rollbar is because we discovered looking at the rollbar issues that we had a feature on the website to delete users, and a few months later, those users were actually trying to log in at the gate and or actually getting scanned at the gate using a printed badge. So that was actually very, very important for us to know, because we did not realize that we were deleting users. And so we removed that feature so that now no user should be deleted, just the status should be changed. So it's that's really an added benefit of actually researching those issues. Then here there's a merge request. So the merge request, basically this week we had 9 merge requests, and the previous week we had 11. That brings it to a total um, of 20. The previous week from the previous sprint was 13, and basically the week before that, that's not on the report, but basically it's 13. So we are basically, in terms of merge requests, we are shy of 6 merge requests. We had less merge requests this sprint by a count of 6. So, and here basically there's, the number of stories, how many stories compared to the previous we completed compared to the previous week. Same with rollbar issues. So rollbar issues, when it's negative, it's a good thing. Code coverage, when it's negative, it's a bad thing. And merge request, well, when it's negative, it really depends on how complex the story is. Usually, if there's there would be less merge requests if the number of stories is less. they go hand in hand, so it's a fairly good indicator. If the reverse were true, it would be a cause for concern. Anyway, so this is my status. Thank you very much, and I will see you next sprint.